Aromie here, and welcome back to our life beginnings and always. We are here, reunited with Derek, and I don't know how to feel. He spoke to you gently. You're there just being there, reunited with him. Derek was a good friend of yours, and he had been there for a long time. Hey! He waved over at Terry and Miranda pleasantly. Over the years, they all had met several times in passing, simply through being friends with the same people. Sup, big man? Hi, it's great you could come. Cove put himself next to Derek. Happy, he clapped a hand on his friend's shoulder. Hi, thanks for coming.
Thanks.
Of course, thanks for inviting me. Sheepishly, Cove looked back at you and the others. That's when it clicked in your mind. It wasn't his parents that he was texting earlier. It was Derek the entire time. Derek is in town for a few months to help my dad and his dad with some work. Yep, I'm working on my own business thing too, but I'm still involved with running the scuba shop when it's called for.
Very nifty.
Humming, Derek elbowed Cove.
So?
But hey, we don't have to stand around here for my sake. What's the plan? Let's hit the town. Eager to get going, everyone piled into Terry's car. The rest of the afternoon was spent visiting spots all over Sunset Bird, laughing and reminiscing the whole way. Once it started to get late, Terry brought you and Cove back to the neighborhood. You didn't have to walk there after all. You didn't get out until promises were made to see each other again before your trip ended. Side by side, you and Cove stood in the street and waved at the car as it drove away. Terry tapped the horn for 2 honks while Miranda stuck her hand out the window to wave back. You caught Derek in the back window, giving you both a wide grin. Sighing as soon as the car turned down another street, they were finally out of sight. Well, that was one party. Time for another. Ready to go see your moms? Of course, it's far too early to hop off the party train. Cove raised his eyebrow before letting out a hearty laugh. He nodded in the direction of the house.
Come on.
Lead the way, conductor. Let's not talk about trains, alright? I'm still traumatized by trains from watching the Demon Slayer movie, alright? And it's been months. It's been months since that movie's out. Spirits high, you and Cove crossed the distance to your house. It was almost time for the anniversary dinner. You had barely stepped over the threshold of the condo before Mala descended, eagerly welcoming you both. The usual greetings were followed by questions on everyone's well-being, after which the conversation moved on to excited chatter about tonight's dinner plans. Cove excused himself to the restroom and to freshen up before being on the move again. Oh! Damn, Cove. Damn, Cove! But when he returned, you were shocked to see he had entirely changed outfits. Where did that come from? I packed it with me so I could get dressed before the dinner without having to go back to the hotel. Didn't you? Or maybe you have stuff still here at your mom's place? Cove, I hate to break it to you, but no, I definitely didn't do something crazy like that. But your mom's party is at a country club. Yeah, and so are middle-aged folks in Hawaiian shirts. What's your point? This isn't like those summer soirees where they were having a real party. We're only going for a regular meal. It was as befuddled by your explanation as you were with his actions. He threw his arms up, desperate for understanding.
Seriously?
How can you not dress nicely for a country club? I don't think this Cypress is as special as you've decided it is. You saw Maul, she was in formal clothes, and she's one of the guests of honor. You realize now that whenever you went to the country club on a normal day, it was family time with just you, Liz, and your moms. Each time Cove came, there had been more exciting things going on. You never would have thought of that before, but his perspective suddenly made a lot more sense. His frown wobbled and his cheeks became far pinker. He looked down at his own self regrettably as he pulled at the cuff ends of his shirt. He seemed more like a scolded child than a grown man dressed for the latest charity gala. I thought she was gonna get changed while you and me were... Ma? No way, she'd need a whole lot more time than that. Well, it's okay, you look very nice. You're such a cutie. I love how much of an idiot you are. You're such a cutie. Cove could only sigh, fully embarrassed. Cove's eyes stole a glance at the hall, as if he was calculating if he'd have time for another quick change. Unfortunately for him, it was not meant to be. The time to head out came far quicker than you'd expected. Hey, your dad's dressed up! You're not alone, but goddamn, Cove, you're looking like a snack. Mr. Holden and Kyra swung by the condo to make sure everything was in order, and for your second surprise that night, Mr. Holden was also in formal clothes. Cove's face excitedly whipped towards yours at the same time. Mr. Holden went to Kyra's. The two men pointed at one another. See, he knows. I mean, That's fine, I guess. Exactly, sport. Kara's talking to me like I was crazy. You and her thought alike in terms of Holden boy antics. The first aforementioned Kyra placed a hand delicately yet dramatically across her eyes. Clifford, our son only knows this because you were the one who raised him. Mr. Holden chuckled, his arm moving to scratch at the back of his neck. Yeah, that's my boy. The ends of Co's mouth gently bent up. He truly was his father's kid, in more ways than even he realized. They may be the only ones in the group, potentially the only guests at the entire club all get gussied up, but at least they could now take solace in one another. That looked to be good enough for them. I mean, this place is fucking gorgeous, so I don't think anybody's gonna look twice if you're dressed up for it. All of the Melody family, as well as honorary members of Cliff, Kyra, and Cove, headed out at the same time to the Cyprus. It was to be a perfect reunion. An impeccably smart host greeted you on arrival. Smart host. Why is that a term? Are you a dumb host? I don't understand. Smoothly leading the way to set the tables reserved for your group. Once you all settled in, chosen drinks were poured into delicate glasses. The food would be coming out later, letting you soak up the atmosphere for a little longer. Smiling your parents faced a group of familiar faces, all gathered here together to share the special day with them. Oh, you guys deserve it. Literally. Mom reached over and took Ma's hand, clasping it between both of hers. Thanks for being here tonight, gang. Marrying this lady right here is the best thing I've ever done, and there's no one else I want to celebrate that with. Yes, we're so lucky. Not only do we have each other, but we've got such a large and loving family through all of you. Around you heard people saying "oh" and chuckling appreciatively at the comment. Lee had clasped her hands tightly in front of her, her eyes shining. Your eyes met Liz's misty ones, and the affection she had for her mom's carried over to you. Oh, cute! In return, your attention towards the happy couple just as they leaned in to kiss, smiling all the while. The tables responded with cheers and clapping shouts of happy anniversary, and other congratulations continuing even after they'd broken apart. Mom beamed as she watched Ma giggle dreamily. I would never be able to celebrate something like this because my parents are not together. They were never together, actually. They never married each other. So, can't relate to this kind of celebration. The waiters reappeared, delivering delicious plates of food, and the dinner began in earnest. Both conversation and laughter continued to flow freely as the night went on, with the two families relishing the opportunity to be together once more. Eventually, after your hunger and thirst had been fully satisfied, the plates were cleared and the event began to draw to a close. Cliff and Kyra exchanged goodbyes with your family before heading out together. Cove gave his goodbyes to his parents while hanging back until your moms were ready to head off. You were getting a lift back with your moms. It was already late, so you discussed the possibility of going straight to the hotel rather than going back to the condo, but Cove had asked if they'd mind taking him back to the neighborhood. He'd wanted to visit it a little longer. Your moms had happily agreed. Liz and Lee were feeling tired, so your moms swung by their hotels during their trip home while you and Cove made the full journey with them. Riding in the backseat of your mom's car with Cove felt more than a little nostalgic. As your eyes drifted over to him, his head resting on the window, it was hard to believe how much time had passed. Mom stretched as she got out of the car, smiling over her shoulder as she headed towards the house. Time to put my feet up. You two joining us? Cove shook his head. No thanks, it's your anniversary. You don't have to entertain me. I'll take a walk. It's never any trouble to have you over, Cove.
You alright with that?
Let him do as he pleases, Lani, but you better not stay out too much later or there'll be trouble. Ma chuckled as Mom waggled a finger, her expression exaggeratedly severe as she reprised a role that, in truth, she'd never really played. Neither of your parents had been particularly harsh as you'd grown up. Ma joined in the act. Don't go too wild just because there's no school tomorrow. Laughing, they made their way inside, leaving you standing out in the dark street with Cove. You didn't even need to ask him why. You already had the answer for this. He wasn't ready for the day to end. Oh, does he want to go hang out at the hill? Without a word, Cove began to stroll down the road. You walked alongside him. Oh, we're going to the beach. Never mind. You know your destination long before you arrived down the dark and utterly deserted beach. There are no lights down here, nothing but the moon and the stars for illumination. The only sound were the waves, gentle waves rolling in and out, and the soft sound of the footprints you left in the sand. In other words, it was perfect. Cove stepped out into the waves without a word. He looked up at the sky with a smile, then tucked his head down and began to pull his fancy shirt off. Excuse me, sir. He tugged it over his head and lobbed it backwards, further up the beach and out of the reach of the waves. Didn't know I'd be getting a job. Wait for me, he looked away embarrassed. You followed him into the water. You better not getting deeper into the water. I didn't know I'd be getting a show. I feel like we're already in that goofy relationship, no? Cove froze, his arms still raised from where he from when he'd thrown his shirt. Slowly he came back to life, stiffly pulling his arm back down. Your commentary had made him self-conscious. Laughing, he clapped your hands in delight at his awkwardness. Cove slipped his dress pants off and tossed them back in roughly the same direction as his shirt. He was down to just his polka dot boxer briefs. What the fuck? Sometimes you were really struck by the ways in which he was braver than his younger self. This was definitely one of those times. Sorry, I heard but already. He never ever would have done this when you were both living on this street. But you also know he still wouldn't do it with another person, anyone other than someone he spent all those years with. You took off your shirt so that you could swim. You took off your dress so that you could swim. You decided you didn't care if your clothes got wet. You thought it was so wild that Cove was actually going to swim right now. I think I would think it's so wild. Cove waded further into the water until it came up to his chest. You marveled as Cove turned around in the water, his exposed shoulders glistening under the moonlight from where the waves had splashed around him. Cove grinned and waved at you from the sea. You're gonna be in so much trouble with my mom when we get back. Cove shrugged. He was enjoying this too much right now to care.
I guess.
Yeah, oh well. Think fast. He splashed water at you as soon as the words had left his lips, giving you no time to prepare. You managed to turn just enough that your back took the onslaught, but you were still wet now. You kicked water back at him from the shore. You ran away. You're a child. You got into the water to seek vengeance. Kova didn't want to get wet. Bro, I mean, we're only gonna be here like once in a while. It's a vacation, right? You got into the water to seek vengeance. It had come to this. You strode out in the water, ready to take your revenge. Cove watched open-mouthed as you approached, then began to back away as you realized your plan. It was too late. Summoning all your might, you splashed him as hard as you could, soaking his head and shoulders as thoroughly as the rest of him. Shaking his head, he ripped up water from his eyes. He was still grinning. It was worth it. Cove sighed, then looked at you mournfully. The sudden shift in mood alarmed you, but those worries disappeared as soon as he opened his mouth. We're still not merfolk. The world is cruel. You snickered. After a moment, Cove's mock sadness broke and he joined in. The two of you wound up drifting further down along the shoreline, chatting and enjoying the chance to be back on the beach that had provided the backdrop for so much of your childhood. Eventually, a silhouette of structures appeared up ahead. As you drew closer, you realized it was the old playground. Cove spotted it too and hurried towards it, dragging himself out of the water and heading into the park. Wet sand coated his feet and lower legs with every step, clinging thickly enough that it began to resemble a bizarre pair of boots. As you followed him, you wondered how many visitors this little park got these days. There are officially no children living in that neighborhood now. Damn, really? Cove gazed at his surroundings in wide-eyed awe. He didn't care at all that he was soaking wet in the dress, only in his underwear. Crouching, he gently pushed one of the child-sized swing sets, marveling at it.
Wow.
I can't believe how tiny everything is. Were we seriously small enough to use these? He shook his head, unable to fathom just how little you'd both been when you first met, then walked over to the monkey bars. Once these had been a challenge for you, now they were a little more than waist height next to Cove. Damn, Cove, you're tall as shit. Cove turned his back to the bars and hopped up onto them with ease, sitting on them comfortably. You sat on the bars with him. You leaned against the bars. You stood in front of him. Stand in front of him. It was strange seeing adult Cove juxtaposed with the baby. What juxtaposed? Is this a word? I've never seen this word in my life. With the baby playground. This place had been something so exciting to Cove back when he first arrived, and apparently it was to this day. Cove smiled eagerly as you approached, kicking his feet in the air happily, briefly forgetting the low vantage point until the tip of his toes scraped along the ground. He continued to swing his feet, but with a little more care. He thought it was adorable. In this moment you were home. It just so happened to be the place you'd grown up. But really, anywhere you could be with Cove was that for you. He had held a special place in your heart for so long, and so much of your life had been shared. You'd grown up on the same street, which had given you some common ground, but it went far beyond that. You had both chosen from a young age to share your life with each other. You wouldn't have it any other way. Here we are, again. Looks like it. Your mood has shifted now. A funny impulsive night beach trip with the spike of adrenaline that came from you playing in the water in the moonlight had settled into something quieter, more nostalgic. Cove leaned back, tilting his head towards the sky to admire the stars above. The dinner was really nice. It was great to do all of this. The smile he had when he spoke those words fell as quickly as it had appeared. It went by so fast. We all came out here for the party and it's over. Leslie, our parents will all be going back to our own things now. But what else can you do except say it's okay? He shook his head, a wry look twinkling in his eyes. If I really never wanted to see things outside this neighborhood, I would have actually followed through with that pretzel plan. This place and these people, they're our foundation. They shaped who we are now, like making castles out of sand. I owe a lot to Sunset Bird. And this is where you're going to stop for today's episode. I don't think Step 4 has any DLC to it. I feel like it might just be strictly story. No idea. But thank you guys for watching today's episode. Stay beautiful, and I will see you guys in the next one.